Detective Schuenemann, would you please state your name for the record?
Nick Schuenemann.
And would you spell your last name for our court reporter, please?
Schuenemann.
And where are you employed?
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
13 years.
And currently, in what capacity are you with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
As a crime scene detective.
And as a detective, that means you're also a sworn law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you work before you worked for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
With the Johnson County Sheriff's Office.
And in what capacity did you work with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office?
As a commissioned deputy sheriff.
And are both of those in Missouri?
Yes, ma'am.
On opposite sides of the state?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could just give to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a little of your background, maybe your educational background.
I earned a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Central Missouri. While I was in college, I went to the police academy. In 2001, graduated from the police academy, started working at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. While working at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, I earned my Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice. I met my soon-to-be wife. Asked her to marry me. We moved to her hometown. It was the agreement. I began working at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office in 2006 as a road patrol deputy. In 2009, I became a detective within the Detective Bureau, doing general criminal cases. In 2010, I came into the crime scene unit of the Detective Bureau.
And did you have training to go into the crime scene unit, and have you continued training to be a part of that crime scene unit?
Yes, ma'am. While in the crime scene unit, I received numerous hours of training, crime scene training, and I earned a certification, a international board certification as a crime scene analyst through the International Association for Identification, and a certified fire investigator through the state of Missouri.
And are you still certified through the International Association for the identification as a crime scene analyst? Are you still so certified?
Yes, ma'am.
In 2015, what were your duties at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
As a crime scene detective.
And were you assigned to assist certain Lee County Sheriff's Office personnel in their investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
When did your first involvement start?
The early morning of July 12th, 2015.
And when you say early morning, what do you mean by early morning?
It was 4-something in the morning.
And did you receive a briefing at that point?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of that briefing?
The commanders at the briefing advised that we were requested. I'm sorry.
Sustained.
And after that, was that a brief briefing?
No, it was a long briefing.
And then after that briefing, did you? What was your assigned? Were you assigned a particular role?
Yes, ma'am. I was assigned to execute 2 search warrants.
And what was the first search warrant? Did you execute those 2 search warrants?
Yes, I did.
Did you participate in the execution of them? What was the first search warrant in which you participated in the execution?
It was at a private residence at 8894 Chapel Hill Court, Hillsborough, Missouri 63050.
And were you looking for anything in particular?
I was under the direct supervision and guidance of Lee County Sheriff's Office deputies.
And let me show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 33B. Is this where the first search warrant was executed?
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the location on Chapel Hill Court?
Yes, ma'am.
And while there, let me ask, did you collect pieces of evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 38. And I also want to hand to you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 33E. These have all been previously shown to Defense Counsel. Referring first to 33E, what is 33E?
It is a printed digital image that I captured while within the master bedroom of 8894 Chapel Hill Court.
And what is, the state also handed you State's Exhibit for Identification 68. What is 68?
Excuse me, 68 or 38, please.
I thought I said 68. I'm looking to check. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 68. Yes, Your Honor. State's Exhibit 68.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is State's Exhibit 68?
It is a evidence bag containing a disassembled cell phone.
And was that a cell phone that you seized at the residence on Chapel Hill Court?
Yes, ma'am.
Referring to the photograph 33E, does that photograph show that cell phone in the location from which you seized it?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce State's 33E, Your Honor, at this time.
No objection.
Show it admitted.
Also move to introduce State's Exhibit number 68.
No objection.
Show it admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
I showed, excuse me. I'm going to show you what has been introduced into evidence as 33E. Hand you a laser pointer.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you show us where in 33E the cell phone to which we are referring was located? Thank you. Now, we've also introduced into evidence State's Exhibit number 68. Is this in the same condition as when you first seized it from the master bedroom side table?
No, ma'am.
But this is the phone, the parts of the phone that you seized.
Yes, ma'am.
And these just work, Your Honor. After conducting the search at 8894 Chapel Hill Court, where was the next location where you executed a search warrant?
650 Old Highway 141, apartment I, Ida, in Fenton, Missouri, 63026.
And do you recall when you executed that search warrant?
Detective Downs and I arrived the following day.
I want to show you Let me start with what's already been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 56A. Is that the location where you executed the search warrant on July 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
I might approach the witness.
You may.
I'm going to hand to you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 55, 56G, and 56F, and ask if you can take just a moment to look at them.
Yes, ma'am.
What are 56G and F?
56G is a printed digital image that I captured of the interior kitchen, dining room, living room area of the aforementioned apartment.
And 56F?
56F is a printed digital image that I captured of a trash can that was located within the kitchen, dining room, living room area of said apartment.
Move to introduce 56G and F.
No objection.
We'll show them admitted.
Now, you were also handed something in a white bag, State's Exhibit 55 for identification. What is State's Exhibit 50? What is State's Exhibit 55?
It is, I'm sorry, it is a package of evidence containing 3 paper cell phone documents and 1 Southwest Airways baggage claim ticket bearing Mark Siebert's name located within the aforementioned trash can.
So move to introduce State's Exhibit number 55.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
I want to permission to publish
Yes, ma'am.
56G. Could you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury again what 56G is?
This is a digital image that I captured of the interior portion of the apartment I at 650 South Old Highway 141, Fenton, Missouri.
And while it's dark, can you show to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the trash can to which you referred when you were speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me show you what's in evidence as 56F, photograph 56F. What do we see in 56F?
This was a view inside of said trash can.
And is it in 56F that you found the documents that are contained in 55?
Yes, ma'am.
If Your Honor, the state might borrow the court scissors again.
Yes, ma'am.
Detective Schuenemann, I'd ask that you open State's Exhibit 55 and remove the tag called the Southwest Airlines tag to which you have referred.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have the Southwest tag separated?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you lift it up and show it to the members of the jury. And this was removed from the trash can?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, it is small and ask permission to publish on the camera as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. And is that the Southwest Airlines tag to which you were referring?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you would be so kind as to put all those pieces of paper back.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also, did you on July 15th conduct evidence pursuant to a search warrant for a 2016 Hyundai Elantra?
Yes, ma'am.
And Madam Clerk, I gave you back Exhibit 33B. I should have kept it. And was that a car that was at the initial location of the Chapel Hill Court search warrant that was executed on July 12th?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you again State's Exhibit 33B.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the car in 33B?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would point to the jury. There, I'm going to unzoom. Was the search warrant for that particular, search warrant though for that car was executed 3 days later, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 43. Can you identify what is State's Exhibit 43?
It is my original packaged item number 310-88, one black colored Garmin portable GPS device that was located within the aforementioned vehicle.
So that GPS device was taken from the silver car we saw in front of the Chapel Hill Court address.
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 43.
No objection.
Show it admitted.
Now, after the execution of the search warrant on the car, did you then conduct a search warrant, the execution of a search warrant on August 25th of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that search warrant conducted?
At the private residence in, I believe it was Cadet, Missouri.
Is that 10154 West Briar Drive in Cadet, Missouri?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit number 35A. Is that where the search warrant was conducted?
Yes, ma'am.
And during the execution of that search warrant, did you seize a variety of items and package them?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to start with what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 39. 39, what is it?
It's the original packaging of the item number 310-120. It's a red colored Budweiser t-shirt located hanging within the master bedroom closet.
Let me also show you State's Exhibits 35G and 35H. Can you tell me what those two are, please?
Yes, ma'am. 35G is a printed digital image of a closet within the master bedroom of the location in Cadet, Missouri, whereas 35H is a printed digital image of the, from looking at this, the right side of the closet. The closet had possessed two doors, one on the right, one on the left. They were both interconnecting, just two doors on one wall.
Move to introduce 35G and H.
No objection.
Show them embedded.
So this is 35G, to which you're referring about the closet,
Yes, ma'am.
and let me move it over so and with your laser pointer, can you show the other part of the interconnecting closet?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
And did you, from this closet, remove a t-shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
And 35H, what is that a photo of?
It is the aforementioned shirt that was removed from the left-hand closet.
And is that the shirt that we have, that you have in your possession as State's Exhibit number 39?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you open State's Exhibit number 39 and hold it up for the jury, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir?
Thank you. If you could just put it back into the evidence bag. Did you also collect a second shirt from that closet?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 41. What is State's Exhibit number 41?
It is the original packaging of item number 310-122, a white colored wicking t-shirt with V-neck located hanging in the master bedroom closet.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 41.
No objection.
Show it admitted.
Ask you, detective, to open it and to display it for the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
And Detective Schuenemann, are there any markings on the outside of that shirt? Like, what I mean by markings are like manufacturer markings at the top of the neck or on the sleeve.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just display those for the jury, please? And if you could turn that around to the other way. The back, so the outside of the clothing. And any marking on the sleeves that are on the outside of the clothing. You could just display that to the members of the jury, please. Thank you. And you're showing them at the bottom of the t-shirt as well. Thank you. And then if you could put it back, roll it back up or fold it back up and put it back in the evidence bag, please.
Yes, ma'am.
While in that bedroom, did you also take into evidence a pair of black and white tennis shoes, which you would note as Missouri Exhibit Number 310108?
Yes, ma'am.
If I might approach, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit Number 32. What is State's Exhibit Number 32?
It is the original packaging of item number 310-108, one pair of black and white lime green tennis shoes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit Number 42.
Your Honor. You may approach.
Yes, ma'am. One moment. No objection, 42 defense.
No, sir.
We'll show it admitted.
Exhibit 42. Do you see from where you seized Exhibit 42 in the photograph State's Exhibit 35D?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I do not.
If I zoom it in, would it help?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And could you, with the laser pointer, indicate to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where State's Exhibit Number 42, from where you took State's Exhibit 42? Thank you. If you would open State's Exhibit Number 42.
Yes, ma'am.
you could put those back into the bag. Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 50. What is State's Exhibit number 50?
This is the original packaging of item number 310-112. It is one black tan hanging sign located on vertical side of a shelf in the kitchen area of 10154 West Briar, Cadet, Missouri.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 50.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
I'm going to show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 35C.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will zoom. In 35C, can you see from where, the plaque was taken?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you show the members of the jury from where you seized the plaque? Thank you. I ask you to open State's Exhibit 50 and display it to the jury, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If you could put it back into the evidence bag, please. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 53. What is State's Exhibit number 53?
Ma'am, it's the original packaging of item number 310-104, a one black and silver AT&T Alcatel cell phone and charger located atop the bathroom counter of 10154 West Briar, Cadet, Missouri.
I'm going to show you what's in evidence as photo 35F.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me zoom back out. And ask if you can show to the ladies if this photo reflects that particular phone, and if you could use the laser pointer to show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, did you also end up taking from from vehicles that were outside of that residence on West Briar some items for evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 40 and State's Exhibit 52. We start with State's Exhibit number 40. What is State's Exhibit number 40?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It is the original packaging of evidence item number 310118, one white plastic/vinyl cooler located from the third row seat of a Dodge Caravan, parked at the address of 10154 West Briar Drive.
Move to introduce into evidence State's Exhibit number 40.
No objection.
Showed and vetted.
Ask that you open State's Exhibit number 40 and display it for the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and if you could replace State's Exhibit number 40 within the bag. Now referring you to State's Exhibit number 52, which is the other large brown bag that I've left seated at the witness stand.
Yes, ma'am. This is the original packaging of item number 310-1131 black North Face brand backpack located within our vehicle at 10154 West Briar Drive, Cadet, Missouri.
State seeks to move into evidence State's Exhibit 52.
No objection.
Showed and admitted.
And without asking you to open it, is that what we think of as a backpack that we put on our back
Yes, ma'am.
in the color of black?
Yes, ma'am.
Will not ask you to open it at this time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, you also collected, sample jumpsuits and gloves, or took into evidence sample jumpsuits and gloves from Doe Run, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just going to show you what's already been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit number 44. And just ask you if these are the suits and gloves that you took into evidence at Doe Run.
Sir.
And you do not need to remove them from the box so long as you,
Yes, ma'am.
you also took into evidence a coverall that was found on the side of the road. I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 51.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could look at State's Exhibit 51. And is that the coverall that you received from Detective Downs and put in that package for evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
And I also want to show you states 38A and B. They are already in evidence, but are these the parts of the cell phone you received from Detective Downs that you then sent packaged such that you could send to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
Did there come a time when you were asked to photograph and take some evidence from Mr. Rodgers, from Jimmy Ray Rodgers, on August 25th?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, I want to hand you two things. One has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 89. August 25th. And the other has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 53.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could take those and look at them for a moment, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What is State's Exhibit number 89?
It is a black AT&T cell phone, a battery for a cell phone, and a piece of aluminum foil.
And was that a phone that you seized from Mr. Rodgers on August 25th?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it was item number 310-125 C. Charles.
I noticed that within that bag is aluminum foil. What's the purpose of the aluminum foil?
The purpose of aluminum foil is
Objection, foundation.
Sustained.
As a crime scene analyst, with your certifications, your training, and your experience, is there a reason you put aluminum foil around a cell phone when it's collected?
yes, ma'am.
Same
And does that-
objection, Judge.
Both sides approach for a moment. You ready? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Detective Schuenemann, we see aluminum foil in State's Exhibit number 89. Is that aluminum foil that you used with State's Exhibit number 89?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do with that aluminum foil that we see in State's Exhibit 89 at the time that you had the phone that's contained within 89 in your possession?
I wrapped the phone in aluminum foil.
And have you had training in the collection of cell phones?
Yes, ma'am.
And what training have you had in the collection of cell phones?
Within the approximate 1,497 hours of training that I received in crime scene, I can't tell you what particular crime scene cell phone collection training course.
But was there a particular cell phone collection training course that you took that talked about the appropriate way to collect cell phones?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you follow those procedures in collecting this cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there a reason that you follow that procedure in wrapping in aluminum foil when you are collecting a cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the reason that you wrap the phone in aluminum foil when collecting a cell phone?
So that the cell phone will not receive a signal if somebody tries to remotely wipe the phone, to delete the data therein remotely.
Thank you. I think I also handed you State's Exhibit number 53.
Yes, ma'am.
What is State's Exhibit number 53?
It's a printed digital image that I captured of Jimmy Rodgers while at the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 53.
May we approach, please?
Sure.
You a number on this exhibit that had been previously used. So I'm going to remark the exhibit as State's Exhibit 92. What is State's Exhibit 92? Is that what you just talked about?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 92.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
I don't think it's possible to zoom further. There we go. think it matters. Is this State's Exhibit number 92, Detective Schuenemann?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the photograph of Mr. Rodgers as he appeared on August 25th of 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to have the defendant stand up in the courtroom, please.
Objection, Your Honor.
Both sides approach. Yes, ma'am.
Detective Schuenemann, does Mr. Rodgers, as he sits in the courtroom today, appear the same size as he did in 2015, or has there been a change in his size?
Objection, Your Honor. Backwards.
Overruled. You can answer, sir, if you can.
I don't recall, ma'am. I'm sorry.
While you were at, while Mr. Rodgers was at the, while you were collecting evidence from Mr. Rodgers and you took this photograph, were buckle swabs also collected from a Taylor Showmaker?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 54.
Yes, ma'am.
What is State's Exhibit number 54?
It's the original packaging, about number 310-130, one paired cotton swabs containing Taylor Showmaker's buckle standard.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 54.
I'm going to object to that foundation.
Were these buckle swabs that were, I'm sorry,
Sustained for now. Go ahead.
were these buckle swabs that were collected from Taylor Showmaker at the same time that Mr. Rodgers was in the office being processed? Or
Yes.
on the same day?
Yes,
That was
ma'am.
a poorly worded question. My apologies. And did you collect these buccal swabs, or were these buccal swabs collected in your presence? Can you look at the packaging and let us know?
Yes, ma'am. I obtained the buckle standard from Taylor Showmaker.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 54.
No objection at this time.
Same objection. Foundation.
Overruled, we'll show it admitted.
Your Honor, if you give me just a moment.
Sure.
I have no further questions at this time, but if you would allow me to approach the clerk with the photographs which I retrieved.
Defense, will you need any of the exhibits in front of the witness, or can we remove those as well? And if you're not sure, we'll just remove them and you can ask for them, because there's...
Thank you. I need a couple.
Do you want me to leave them around?
Why don't we just move them, and council can ask for them if needed. Because there's...
Those are unsealed. That's unsealed also.
We'll take care of that later. Thank you. I'll keep it over here.
Yes. Defense?
Thank you. Good morning, Detective.
Morning, ma'am.
Can you tell us when you were first contacted, very first contact regarding needing or providing assistance to the Lee County Sheriff's Department?
I was contacted by my commander advising that there was going to be a search warrant briefing the following morning.
Okay, when was that?
It was July 11th in the evening.
Of 2015?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
And did you provide any assistance in helping to prepare the search warrants?
No, ma'am.
Now, as part of your training and experience in law enforcement, would you agree that it is essential to properly document everything that happens?
Yes, ma'am.
Statements from people, would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Physical evidence,
Yes, ma'am.
anything collected?
Yes, ma'am.
In total, about how many hours did you put in on this case in assistance to
I don't
Lee
recall.
County? You don't know?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, how about just on July 12th? Is that kind of a long day for you?
Yes, ma'am.
What time, you started, I believe you said at 4 a.m., about then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What time did you finish for that day?
I don't recall. It was in the evening.
Okay. So you had a briefing at 4 a.m., correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's so you can kind of learn what it is the Lee County detectives might be looking for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How long did that take?
Approximately an hour.
Okay. What'd you do after that briefing?
Directly after, I
Okay.
went and got about a pot and a half of coffee, and began to drive towards the location of the search warrant of the 8894 Chapel Hill Court.
Okay, and that Chapel Hill Court, did you go alone?
In my vehicle, yes.
Okay. Was there a SWAT team with you too?
Not with me.
Did they arrive at the Chapel Hill Court
They did.
address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is that SWAT team part of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that address in 8894 Chapel Hill Court, what county is that?
Jefferson.
It is Jefferson County. Okay. And how about Fenton, Missouri? What county is that?
Jefferson.
Okay. And how about the address on Westbriar Drive in Cadet,
Washington.
Washington? Okay. Do law enforcement officers have jurisdiction from county to county?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have jurisdiction from county to county?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
You're not sure whether you had jurisdiction?
No, ma'am. I am commissioned by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I work for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and I assist. It could be North Dakota. I'll go to North Dakota and do what I'm asked to do.
Okay, so your department, your sheriff's office requests that,
Yes, ma'am.
but each county has their own sheriff's office, correct?
Yes, ma'am, to make lawful arrest.
Okay. So the Lee County sheriffs, when they ask you to assist, do they have jurisdiction in Missouri?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ask them, or did they tell you whether there was jurisdiction?
Those questions are above my pay grade, ma'am.
Okay. Can you swear in a witness outside of Missouri?
I don't believe so, ma'am.
Okay. So your law enforcement certification is based on the state that you're in, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you're employed by each individual sheriff's department has their own limits of jurisdiction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're essentially, your sheriff has agreed to provide assistance to Lee County, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was there any limit to that assistance?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did you help provide them, besides a SWAT team and your assistance, any physical items, tape recorders, video cameras?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did they ever ask for that?
Not me directly.
Okay. And in fact, these search warrants, they were videotaped, correct?
Yes.
Were you asked to videotape them, or is that your standard procedure?
Standard procedure, ma'am.
Standard procedure for Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, correct?
Good practice also.
Okay. So you go to the address at Chapel Hill Court.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know whose residence that was?
Based on the briefing,
Okay.
I had an inclination that it belonged to Curtis Wright and his wife.
Okay. And was Mr. Wright and his wife present when you arrived?
No, they were not.
Okay. What time did you arrive there?
I don't recall.
Okay. Would you have made that part of your report?
I would.
Okay. Do you need to refer to your report?
Actually, I would have to refer to the attachments from another officer because when I arrived, I responded to the area. I waited for tactical operations to stop. I was not at the residence until after tactical operations have already left and the building was secured. So in order for my report to reflect my time of arrival, I would not know if that was my time of arrival in the area or my time of arrival to begin the crime scene processing.
But as part of proper documentation, you would have documented that.
Yes, ma'am. Somebody would have documented it.
Okay. So in addition to your assistance, you had other Jefferson County officers present as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are any of the, let me rephrase that. And I think you referred to, I asked about the SWAT team, you referred to tactical officers. Is that the same thing?
Yes, tactical operators.
Okay. So you weren't there when the tactical or SWAT team went into the residence?
No, ma'am.
Okay. How about with the residents in Cadet, Missouri? Were you there for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When the SWAT team, there was also a SWAT team there, is that right?
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall, okay. But there was one at the Chapel Hill Court.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you arrived when it was secure and the SWAT team had secured the address on Chapel Hill Court, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Secure and unoccupied.
Okay. Had they retrieved people from inside the SWAT team?
Yeah, objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation. He said he wasn't there.
Sustained.
Were there Was Mr. Wright and his wife outside when you arrived at?
I don't recall.
Okay. Moving on to the Westbriar address.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall what time you arrived there?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. Would you like an opportunity to review your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, may I approach?
You may.
Council, if you could refer me to a page number, please.
Let's see where he finds it.
If you would refer to me to the page numbers of what you have
Discovery?
presented to him.
Starting at Discovery page 35,132.
Thank you.
Just take your time, sir, and let us know when you're ready.
Thank you, sir. I'm ready.
Were you able to refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what time did you arrive at the Westbriar address?
It does not say.
Okay, so that wasn't documented?
Not in my report, no. It was documented photographically.
I have another report, if you'd like to review that.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no
30.
question pending.
Same question. What time?
And what report do you have?
I have page 35,116. It's actually part of what was provided as to his.
Thank you.
Just identify
report.
what the report is for the record, and if it'll refresh your recollection potentially, sir, you can look at it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May I approach?
Yes, ma'am, and it's his report?
I believe so, yes. Is
Okay.
that your report?
This is a worksheet that I usually do whenever I'm conducting a scene.
Did
It's
you prepare that document?
I did.
That's a handwritten, not a typewritten document, is that right?
That's correct, ma'am.
Is there anywhere on that document that notes the time you arrived at the Westbriar address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what time was that?
At approximately 2:30 p.m. or 14:30.
And at, excuse me, sorry. And at 2:30 p.m., was there a SWAT team that had already been there and left?
I'm not sure, ma'am. They weren't there when I was present.
Well, what did you find at that location when you arrived?
Officers from the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Cadet, and officers from Lee County, Florida.
Okay. And then you were coming from Jefferson County?
I was
correct?
coming from the Washington County Sheriff's Office, where I was told to stay until after the residence was unoccupied and secured.
And that's when you arrived at 2:30 p.m.?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct? Okay. Had there been residents in there to your knowledge?
The residence appeared to be lived in, yes.
Okay. Had Taylor Schuenemann been there when you, or was she there when you arrived?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered, no one was there when he arrived in the residence.
I'll withdraw that question. When did you first make contact with Taylor Schuenemann?
Believe it was at the the Washington County Sheriff's Office, following the processing of the residents on Westbriar.
And do you know how long, you indicated you arrived about 2:30 p.m. How long did that processing take?
I would have to reflect on the page you just showed me.
Okay, would it help to see the same
Yes, ma'am, it
report?
would. Thank
May I
you.
approach?
If it'll refresh his recollection, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. At approximately 18:20, I departed, so 6:20.
For the record, which document is that?
I'm sorry, that is,
Discovery page 35,116.
Thank you.
oh, yes, ma'am.
Did you prepare any other reports that were to you reviewed?
Well, one is the report, the other one is an attachment to that report.
Did you prepare any other, besides property receipts, any other reports or attachments?
Not that I recall. I I composed some documentation to help my recollection for the depositions and testimony and everything else. It's
Were you able to review all of that material
as
before
best as
coming?
I could, ma'am, yes.
So you come into contact with Ms. Schumacher approximately 6:30, is that right? Is that what time?
No, that the residence at Westbriar was released to Ms. Showmaker at 18:20 or 18:30? At that time of departure.
And that's when you came into contact with her?
Yes.
Was that at the residence or at the sheriff's office?
I believe it was at the sheriff's office.
Okay. When you conducted your search of the residence on Westbriar, you had shown us that you had collected a red Budweiser T-shirt.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that right? Do you know whose that was?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know if that's the only red Budweiser T-shirt in the state of Missouri?
I don't know, ma'am.
Did you know who lived at that residence on Westbriar?
I was told a name of the possible occupants.
Okay. Was that Mr. Rodgers and Ms. Schomaker?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there evidence that children lived there as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the reason for securing it first? And
I don't,
you indicated the residence was secured before you went in.
secured as there were no presence of things that could harm myself or others.
Okay. Okay. And as you walked around and were documenting items, were the Lee County detectives with you
Yes, ma'am.
the entire time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so were they on the scene until, on that scene, that particular scene until you left at 18:30?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. You, may I approach for exhibit number 40?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what has previously been admitted as item, exhibit number 40.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you, take that out back, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, you can stand up.
Thank you.
There appears to be some blue markings on that. Do you know what those are?
No, ma'am, but having kids, it appears to be crayon.
Okay, thank you.
Square playground.
You indicated that you, and let me clarify, did you collect the coveralls that were found on the side of the road?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know who did?
Detective Downs.
Okay. And did he give them to you for processing or for marking?
He provided them to me for further packaging so they could be sent to Lee County, Florida.
Okay. And when did he provide them to you?
Believe it was within the same time frame of the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, so that same day? time
Same
period.
day, same
Okay.
time frame. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how about you collected exhibit number 89, the black AT&T phone? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Are you referring to my item number 310-104, the cell phone located on the bathroom counter?
Okay, write that down. May I approach for exhibit 89, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was that provided to you by Detective Levin?
This is a cell phone that was provided to me from either Lieutenant or from Detective Downs or Levitt, I do not recall. This is the item number 310-125 C. Charles. It was a cell phone that was recovered from Mr. Rodgers' person.
So you did not collect that yourself?
No, ma'am.
Would you packaged it up?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? When you did you notice if there was a SIM card in the phone?
I don't look for those things, ma'am.
Okay, but if it was there, would you do anything different?
No, ma'am.
So it may or may not be in there? Just didn't look.
No, ma'am.
And then item number 53, the photo of the other phone, the Alcatel phone. Did you collect that from the residence?
The aforementioned item number 104 that was located on the bathroom counter?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you check that one for a SIM card at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay, just have a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
State.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Is this witness to be retained or released?
Released, Your Honor.
No objection.
You're free to go. Thank you, Detective.
Thank you, sir.